Hello there, this is Critical from Critical Media. Just taking a look at the 2021 hardcover release of Rorschach. This is a recent series from Tom King, Jorge Fornes, and the awesome colorist Dave Stewart. And what we usually do at this channel is give you an idea of what to expect when you come across this book in the wild. So we go over the exterior, some bonus material, art and plot points, and a brief review at the end. Now, yes, in terms of the exterior, yeah, your typical dust jacket finish. So it does use one of the issues covers from the series. It was a 12 issue series, so about 240 pages. And a nice pulp spine, so very good there. And your typical synopsis with an image on the back there. But underneath, I kind of called this a few months ago when I was thinking about what they might do for the hardcover. And lo and behold, sometimes when you're right, you're right. Yes, they did go with the very predictable ink blot Rorschach design, so very on point there. But I do appreciate that the spine does carry that motif. They could have messed it up and over colorized it, so I like that it matches in that sense. Now, in terms of bonus material, you're not getting any interviews or anything like that, but what you are getting is a very large gallery of variant covers, and some of them are very evocative. So right off the bat, you get the pretty much the Killing Joke homage. No, Walter Kovacs is not a part of the story, but it's about a different Rorschach, so to speak. But nonetheless, yeah, of all the variants, there's one specifically from Dennis Cowan, who I really like. Yes, there it is. And the reason why this one speaks to me so much is because Rorschach is essentially an analog for the God MC, The Question. And not only that, Dennis Cowan worked on this series with Dennis O'Neil. This is one of the best series of the 80s, in my opinion. It's one of my favorite series, period, because of its maturity and its veracity. And you'll find that this series, the Rorschach series, definitely carries that tradition. But I won't belabor that too much. Now you get a little bit of work from Fornes himself. He worked on other items like Batman. He does do street level stories, but a lot of his art reminds me of Gotham Central from a few years ago. So very on point there. And once again, some other covers here from Fornes. This is actually from the main series. So very on point. Not bad there. And of course, just black bookends. Now, in terms of the plot, now this is set more so in our day, so it is a present day story. And also, it carries on with the concept of the HBO Watchmen series. So, kind of how the show is a little bit different than the, what's the word? The Doomsday Clock, interpretation of what happened after. This one definitely goes with the HBO idea. So Rorschach's journal was never actually publicized widely, but he still inspired, and he was still that that symbol of anarchy against order, or should I say, throughout a told order, so to speak. So, in a nutshell, the story starts off with a failed assassination attempt on Governor Turley. In this world, instead of Obama, Robert Redford is actually the president in term. And for instance, it's his administration that captured Osama bin Laden and all that. So you see what I mean, where it's still our world, but just slightly altered. But with starting off with the failed attempt of the assassination, basically this story uses the idea of who did it and is there going to be another attack? Is there another attack? Is there going to be another threat? So we're given the vehicle character of the detective. He's never named. He's just known as the detective. Nobody ever addresses him by name either. And he's investigating why these two people, Will Myerson, the guy who was at Rorschach, and the cowboy lady, I think her name is Laura Cummings, why did they actually do what they did? And so it has a very mature sense of storytelling. So it does expect you to grasp certain concepts. So it doesn't over explain things. It just more so expects you to, gauge the flow of the conversation. Even though you're seeing a lot of dialogue, you're still expected to kind of grasp, okay, this is what he really meant when he said this. So definitely appreciate that. They don't take the reader for a clown, so to speak. So definitely appreciative of that. Now, even before I go to that other page, that's why I want to take out that bullet there. There's a very on point page here. This was like the wallpaper for my phone for a while. I love this image. Probably a lot of folks seen this one as well. So on point. It's menacing, the lighting, perfect. Good job for finessing Stewart. Man, I'm always impressed every time I see it. But another page I wanted to show is kind of this idea that this story has, similar to Watchmen, where there are comics within the comic. So that person who is portraying Rorschach, Will Myerson, he's actually a comic book writer. And he's known for a certain series, very similar to the Black Freighter, called The Pontius Pirate. But he was also working on this, which is kind of an homage, not just to Rorschach, but to all the faceless detectives. So, yes, The Question, The God MC, of course, yeah, Mr. A, Mr. E, if you want to go as far back as the Golden Age. But I love the prose here. Like, I want to get this blown up on a wall or something. It's that beautifully written. So, good job there, Tom King. But as you go throughout the story, yeah, it's just a conspiracy that you're trying to unravel. So that's what I like about detective stories. They can definitely take that and really run with it. Speaking of run with it, there's not too many Watchmen crossover ideas, but you do get hints that it is the same universe. So Governor Turley, so a relationship with the comedian, things like that. So very on point there. And, oh yes, and some folks had a little bit of controversy because, once again, this is set in the real world, or supposed to be. So some people that had this weird issue with Frank Miller, the character. Tom King wrote Frank Miller into this story. So Frank Miller himself didn't ask to be in it or anything. But I like how himself and Otto Binder, one of my favorites, because he ushered in my favorite character of all time, Captain Marvel. He helped with that. I like how they make appearances and how it does fit. It does make sense. Probably the only part is a little bit later with Frank Miller. But I won't go over too much of the ending or, what ultimately transpires. I'll say this, though. By the fourth issue, you might have figured out what's going to happen at the end. But the one thing about the detective character, the vehicle, so to speak, is that I can't help it, but he reminds me of Mark Ruffalo from Zodiac, that character, Dave Toschi. And I felt like that was so intentional. Because even the way his repartee with people, he's very curt with them. So I definitely felt like Tom King was definitely going for that Zodiac aspect, which definitely shows in the brilliance of the plot of the story. But nonetheless, this is all in all a 9 out of 10. Definitely a great follow-up. This is probably the closest you're going to get to a Watchmen sequel. Not that we need one, but this is a lot better than the before Watchmen Rorschach. I felt that was such a misfire. This is exactly what was needed. Even the manner of storytelling is reminiscent of the 80s, the whole blocking paneling, where you'll get up to like 9 panels in a page. I love that. So it gives it that pulp aspect as well. But nonetheless, this isn't about me. Maybe you folks have your own thoughts about the series, but I wouldn't mind hearing them in the comments down below. And hey, just as a little tip, yes, The Question, one of my favorite series or runs ever from the 80s. This is actually getting an omnibus soon. So if you have ever wanted to get these and now these are way too expensive, thankfully DC is coming out with the Dennis O'Neil Question run. I believe the cover of it will look more like the very first trade for it. But hey, I hope to see you guys in the next video, and y'all folks take care.